I was wrong. I was wrong about Todd. I was wrong about Starfield. I was wrong about Bethesda. I called modern day Bethesda talentless. A bunch of losers who cannot do absolutely anything right. I called them futureless. And now I understand that I was wrong. And I am man enough to admit when I am wrong. Because Bethesda, modern day Bethesda, does have talent. They do. They truly do have talent. And they have a lot of talent, in fact. Because without talent, you could not fuck up for 20 goddamn years straight. You need to have some serious talent in being talentless and an idiot to fail this hard 20 goddamn years straight, boys. Okay? That is impressive talent. Most of us could never achieve that. Bethesda assembled the team. Oh yes, they're casino royaling this harder than anyone has in the history of gaming. Starfield took 12 years to make. Can you imagine 12 years working on a game? And Starfield is the end product? Starfield's been abandoned for roughly a year at this point. Also, the only thing that can probably beat this is there is one thing, by the way, boys. Yes, I'm smiling already, and that is Fable. There's currently people coping that it's a good thing that Fable's been in the oven for 10 years and it needs a little bit more time to cook. Oh boy! Elder Scrolls 6 is dead. Everyone already knows it after playing Starfield, but now it's like quadruple dead because yeah, they literally took people from Dragon Age to Veilguard and got them into Elder Scrolls 6. We recently watched a whole video about Luke Steffens shilling extremely hard for Bethesda, about how great of a choice it is to have the people who ruined Dragon Age, the whole franchise, took a franchise that had potentially easily 20 million sales year one and turned it into a franchise that probably currently doesn't have 1.5 million sales yet somehow, even though they have been at discounts and gave the game away even for free. And Starfield is in a worse position than that. Elder Scrolls 6 is in even a worse position than that. And now we have huge news for Starfield. I can't wait to find out what that is.
Bethesda's ambitious space RPG Starfield might be about to make one of its biggest moves yet, landing on the Nintendo Switch 2. According to reliable
Wow.
industry insider Nate the Hate, Microsoft is preparing to bring Starfield to Nintendo's next-generation handheld hybrid console sometime in 2026. If true, this would mark a huge milestone not just for Starfield, but also for Xbox's overall release strategy as it continues to expand its ecosystem beyond its traditional platforms like Xbox consoles and PC. Let's break down everything we know so far, what this could mean for Bethesda, and why Starfield on the Switch 2 could be a turning point for the game's future. But before we get into it, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a
turning point for the game's future. I thought the turning point at Starfield was when you have played it for 40 hours and are in a New Game Plus 7, and then the game magically opens up and becomes fun. I thought that was the original turning point. And by the way, if you're not familiar with the Starfield lore, that was unironically what Starfield Shill said day one. That you just need to play the game more. Play the game more. Because it gets good in New Game Plus 5 or something. That you need 40 hours into the game and then the game becomes really good. And some people bought that, by the way. Some people literally rush through the story. I say story, but it's actually story. And then went to play New Game Plus, and they were like, okay, is the fun starting now? Is the game gonna get good? No, it's just more loading screens.
like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the latest Starfield news. And if you want to further support the channel, consider becoming a member for early access on every video, members only content, your name in the credits, the ability to write in and have your comments featured, and access to the Discord community. This rumor began with a post from Nate the Hate, a leaker with a track record for accurate predictions, and he's definitely predicted some things.
Nate the Hate is a sock account.
correctly about Nintendo. In a tweet, he claimed that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle won't be the only Bethesda game coming to Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026. He said, "See that planet? You can go there." Aside from landing on PS5, Starfield is planned for release on Nintendo Switch.
I love the fact that you actually can't. You actually cannot go there. You need to fast travel there, okay? Oh man, 16 times the detail, boys. What a time to be a time.
2 in 2026. This comes on the heels of Microsoft and Bethesda confirming during Gamescom opening night live that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle will release on the Switch 2 next year. With Indiana Jones officially on the way, Nate claims that Starfield is also coming to this new console starts to feel much more plausible. But while Bethesda hasn't officially confirmed Starfield for Switch 2 yet, of course, the timing of this leak couldn't be more interesting. Multiple reports already suggest that Starfield will be releasing on PlayStation 5 at some point in 2026, possibly earlier in the year, lining up neatly with the rumor.
This was a rumor, by the way, last year also in 2024. And the PlayStation crowd was like, no thank you, can we not? And then you have my favorite part is Xbox shills are slowly dying out. Bethesda shills are literally on the decline, and Xbox shills are also slowly dying out. Like, Xbox lost the console war, and my pen being an Xbox is not actually, surprise, that fucking exciting now, is it? Who wants an Xbox at this point? Like, why would you ever choose to have an Xbox if you can just have a PlayStation and have all the games? Why? What's the point of an Xbox at this point? What's the point of a PlayStation? PC Master Race, baby! You know it's true. But yeah, Xbox. No one is defending this anymore. That's the craziest thing. I thought that Xbox fanboys and you know, Bethesda fanboys, those are going to be forces that survive the big crunch. Those are going to be the forces that survive chaos theory. Oh, but turns out, no, they just fucking died. Okay? Now, granted, I still get a comment time to time, and I'm pretty sure when I check the comments tomorrow on this video, I'm going to have, well, I played Starfield on Xbox, and I can't wait to get it on PlayStation 5 so I can play it again. Bro, just contact Xbox support and ask them, can you just wire them money for no reason? They're probably gonna say yes. That's probably easier than actually playing Starfield at this point.
Switch port. When Starfield first launched back in 2023, it was touted as an Xbox console exclusive, one that was meant to be a pillar beside other Microsoft games in their ecosystem alongside Halo, Forza, and other Bethesda games. But things have changed quickly over the last 2 years. Microsoft, of course, has been leaning harder and harder into a multi-platform approach, bringing its games to a wider audience. The company has already committed to bringing Call of Duty titles to Nintendo platforms in the future and has expanded franchises like Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush beyond just their Xbox consoles. And now, seeing Bethesda's biggest title spread to other systems is just another extension of that evolving strategy from Xbox. The Switch 2, with its hybrid design and next-gen capabilities, is shaping up to be an especially attractive home for these ports. If Indiana Jones and Starfield both arrive on—
Does this not look fun, by the way? I mean, I have played this. I know that this feels ass. But it's so bad that I feel that the average person looking at this without playing Starfield, you just know this is bad. You just know that that's a horrible experience.
Nintendo's platform, it signals a clear intent from Xbox. They're ready to treat Nintendo as a serious partner, not just a side platform. Starfield is a massive game at this point that's seen over 15 million players, and it's a sprawling RPG with hundreds of planned—
I'm sorry. Yeah. And Starfield has literally, by the way, lost 99.9% of its player base. No, actually, it's like 90. No, it's 99 point something percent. No one cares. Most people who played Starfield had Shattered Space for free, by the way, and no one went to play it when it got released. It's insane.
It's endless systems to explore and ambitious mechanics that push even the Xbox Series X. The thought of playing it on a handheld device like the Switch 2 raises a lot of questions about the game's performance, fidelity, and the compromises they might have to face. But it also represents a dream for many players out there. Imagine being able to take Bethesda's space epic on the go, diving into missions, exploring planets, or
Listen, I'm not gonna lie, okay? Let's check. Steam DB Starfield. Okay, let's check how many people want to actually experience the grand journey of Starfield together, okay? Let's see. Let's Steam DB and sharing screen, okay? Okay, so we have 3.2k people currently playing. 56% players are positive about this slop. Great stuff, great stuff. And an all-time peak player base of 330k. This is unironically less than 1% retention. Yes, 1% retention of this would be 3,372 players, by the way. That's exact math. Well, 3, I guess, in this case. But that is the exact math. So, this is not even full retention. This is not full retention. It's not even... They have lost more than 99% of players, and this is not even a joke. It's insane. Usually I use the term lost 99% of the players in in a way to express that the game is dead. But in this case, it's fucking beyond that. You know what this is, by the way? This was their expansion launch. Wow. You know how many players this is? You know how much this is? This is roughly 6% player attention. That's right. 6% player attention on a freshly released thing. And I know some people are going to say, but it's an Xbox. No one's playing it on Xbox. Shut up. I'm tired of explaining this. Xbox is a dead platform that no one cares about. It is what it is, okay? Just stop coping.
Green with your ship while traveling or lounging away from your console. The original Switch proved that there's a huge appetite among gamers for big budget RPGs on a portable platform, with games like Skyrim and The Witcher 3 leading the way and finding huge success there. And Starfield could be the next big RPG to thrive in that space. And from a business standpoint, it keeps Starfield relevant, of course. The game has struggled to maintain its momentum after a mixed reception to its first expansion, Shattered Space.
I mean,
but a multi-platform
if it's it's hard to use the word struggle to keep momentum when it's dead, okay? It struggled in the sense it failed through, I guess.
These could reignite interest in the game, bringing in new players, and extending its lifespan as Bethesda continues to support it with updates and DLC. And apparently
I'm pretty sure Starfield has not had a single meaningful update in at least a year since Shattered Space dropped. Bethesda's not even fixing bugs at this point. It's just purely abandoned.
There's a new expansion coming in early 2026 as well that could launch alongside the PS5 and Nintendo Switch 2 port.
Surely.
One of the big questions is whether the Switch 2 version of Starfield will launch with its expansions. Shattered Space arrived in 2024, and rumors suggest a second expansion, possibly titled Starborn, is planned for a spring 2026 release. If the Switch port launches alongside Expansion 2, it could be marketed as a complete edition of Starfield, similar to how Bethesda has packaged its older games with all DLC included. This would make a lot of sense, of course. New players picking up Starfield on Switch would get the full experience right out of the gate, with both major expansions included in the package. And of course, it would also give Bethesda a clean slate to reintroduce the game to audiences who may have skipped it during its original release back in 2023.
No, no one's buying this garbage.
Phil Spencer, Microsoft's head of gaming, has made it clear that Xbox intends to support the Switch 2 in a big way. We've been supporting...
Phil Spencer also said the reason Shattered Space literally got played by fucking no one is because they did a bad move by releasing the Dune buggy before the expansion, and if it was in the Shattered Space expansion, that would have gotten literally 10 trillion billion quadrillion people playing Shattered Space. Okay? That was unironically what he said. Quote me on that.
Switch 1, I want to support Switch 2, he said earlier this year. He also said, Nintendo has been a great partner. We think it's a unique way for us to reach players who aren't PC players, who aren't players on Xbox. This partnership has already produced impressive results, of course, with major franchises like Minecraft thriving on Nintendo systems. I mean, that game is just a perfect fit there. but it's also bringing tentpole Xbox and Bethesda titles like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle and Starfield over to the Switch too. And this further solidifies the partnership and opens the door for even more cross-platform releases in the future. It's worth noting that Bethesda already has a history of bringing its games to Nintendo hardware. Skyrim, Doom Eternal, and
Does this look fun? Does this look fun?
even Wolfenstein 2 all launched on the original Switch, albeit with
Also, I'm pretty sure that that's a DLC weapon that you need to probably pay $5 for this gun.
performance compromises, of course. The Switch 2's more powerful next-gen hardware could make ports of current-gen games like Starfield far more viable. Of course, one of the biggest questions on everyone's mind is how Starfield will actually run
That thing just damage sponged 100 fucking bullets.
on the Switch 2. The game is notoriously demanding, and even on Xbox Series XS consoles, players have to choose between performance and fidelity modes. Now that it's a release, we have the full
Remember when they said that the performance mode was gonna be the best thing ever and was gonna boost HD? Yeah, I remember. Lies, as always.
specs for the Switch 2 console, and it features significantly upgraded hardware capable of supporting modern engines and graphical features. With everything we now know about the Switch 2 console, Starfield could potentially run at respectable settings, but of course that comes on part from Bethesda, who has to focus on optimization for this console specifically. Still, it's safe to assume there will be some compromises with this release. The scope of the game might remain intact, of course, but resolution, texture detail, and draw distance could all take major hits. And that's some important context because of course the Switch 2 is a hybrid console. You can play with the console docked and play on your TV, or you can play with it undocked in handheld mode. And I'm sure the handheld mode will have a lot more compromises than Starfield as compared to the docked mode. Alongside the Switch 2 news, there's another Starfield rumor making waves in the community. A recent data mine suggests that real-time interplanetary travel could be added in future updates to the game. Currently, traveling between planets in Starfield involves fast traveling.
It involves 5 to 6 loading screens if you're not a professional. It involves only 3 loading screens and 2 unskippable cutscenes if you're a veteran of Starfield, okay? I literally need to I literally spent like an hour figuring out how can I minimize the load screens between traveling place to place, and I got it down to 3. I'm pretty proud of that, okay? That's like the 2 parsec fucking Han Solo run, boys. I'm a legend. The average player needs to go through 5 to 6 loading screens and 2 unskippable cutscenes. What a goat. What an absolute goat. Yes, this is literally how bad the game is.
And loading screens, which many players found immersion breaking, of course.
Oh yeah, look at this. This seemed fun.
Bethesda truly adds what we found in these leaks called cruise mode that lets players fly seamlessly from one planet to another. It could fundamentally change how the game feels. Pairing such a transformative update with the Switch 2 and PS5 launches would be a very smart move for the company. It would give returning players a reason to dive back into the game and make Starfield
If this doesn't show you how bad Starfield is, I mean nothing honestly, Bill.
feel fresh for newcomers. Starfield hasn't had the smoothest journey since its launch back in 2023. It sold well out of the gate and has garnered over 15 million players and some decent critics.
It didn't sell well. They put it on Game Pass day 1. Starfield doesn't actually have a lot of sales. Well, it has a lot of sales compared to every other AAA slop release, I guess. Starfield could have roughly up to maybe 7 million sales, I'm not sure. Because again, players don't mean sales, and 7 million is, I'm being very, very, very generous. Because again, not a single person is buying this shit on Xbox. They're getting it for free with Game Pass.
Reviews that currently sits at about an 83 on Metacritic, but players were obviously more divided on the game. Many players out there felt it lacked the depth and magic of Bethesda's past RPGs, and of course
it did. Listen, Bethesda. Obviously, Bethesda's not getting rid of the loading screens. If they could do that, they probably already would have. Okay? A game where the most hype moment is someone making a video and uploading it to Twitter while saying, physics, and then a bunch of sandwiches collapse. When that's your most hype moment and the most actual huzzah that your game has gotten, that there's no recovery from that. That's probably 1. 2, that again, it's not happening. It's not even a problem that there's so many loading screens. The real problem is the fact, but like, how do you make free travel possible? Like, that's the biggest fucking cope I have ever heard about Starfield, by the way, unironically. Because Starfield doesn't actually have a fully built planet. There's only points of interaction that you can go to. Starfield cannot. The way that Bethesda does things with their engine, and the reason why Bethesda games log is because you have interacted with too many things. What happens when Starfield actually has seamless transitions and you can travel really to planets and land and everywhere? Well, the game is gonna become unplayably laggy probably in the grand time span of visiting 2 fucking planets. That's when that's how it's gonna be. It's gonna instantaneously be a disaster. Well, it's already a disaster. Also, this does not solve the problem of there being no good weapons, there being no interesting weapons, there being no melee in this game, for real. There's like 2 melee weapons. I'm not kidding, by the way, there's 2 melee weapons in this game. The talent point systems being stupid, base building being irrelevant, ship building being annoying and obnoxious, and the fact that if you have been in 2 caves in this game, congratulations. If you're not a mouth breather, the 3rd cave you're gonna understand is probably a mix of the other 2 caves. Because there's not enough of RNG tile sets. Everything looks the fucking same and it's a joke, okay? There's no way. Everything positive about this game is a lie.
That doesn't come without merit, and its updates since haven't fully addressed those concerns from the fanbase. Shattered Space, its first expansion, landed with a thud, criticized for being too shallow and not fixing the core gameplay issues that the Starfield already faced. And Bethesda promised more was coming, but the silence at this year's Xbox Games Showcase and Gamescom at this point have unfortunately left fans worried about the game's.
Listen, I want the next expansion for Starfield because it's gonna be amazing, and you absolutely know it. Anyway, that was the end. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Bye. Starfield is dead.